Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 537. I had the white pieces and kicked off with d4. Opponent played knight f6, and after a couple moves, c4, e6, I play knight c3 here, allowing the Nimzo-Indian. You can, of course, avoid the Nimzo-Indian with knight f3, which is a very popular way of playing these days, but I've always enjoyed playing both sides of the Nimzo-Indian. It leads to a lot of interesting positions, so I'm always happy to allow this. Not that, I think white is better here or anything, just the usual, slight opening edge for white you can expect in many openings. So I go e3, the Rubinstein variation. There are lots of ways to play here. Queen c2, the classical. Queen c2, the classical variation, is most popular these days, but there's nothing wrong with this one. And maybe my opponents won't be quite as familiar with it. But, he castles. That's the main move. I go bishop d3. And he goes c5, which c5 is also a move I like to get in when I'm playing the black side of the Nimzo-Indian. I think it's nice to put some more pressure in the center and then wait on the d-pawn and decide what to do with that one later. So knight f3 is a logical response, just shoring up the center. And now he took. So this is rare. Normally the main move here is to continue with d5. When I'm in this position, I usually play with knight to c6 and try to encourage some sort of Benoni type structure. See if white can be tempted into playing d5, where I'll exchange and get in d6 and get that Benoni set up. So, but that's and that is a way of playing. You see, it's okay here. And the chess engine. The chess engine prefers d5 though, so that's probably the best way to play with d5. Anyway, he takes. I take back, and I think this is just a good position for white. I've got two pawns in the center, and he doesn't have any at the moment, although he can get this d5 move in, and I think he plays that on the next move. So he kind of undermines my center here, but still this is okay. I castle here, which turns out to be the main move. I'm really not all that sure what to do, and then that lets him create an isolated queen's pawn. But the isolated queen's pawn is nothing you should be afraid of. It gives you a little more space and activity for your pieces, so it's a plus throughout the middle game. So you should just learn how to play with the isolated queen's pawn and enjoy it rather than fearing it. So b6 is the main move here. Instead he goes with knight c6, but a logical move here, just putting pressure on the center again. I decide to resolve the situation with the bishop by playing a3. It's interesting, after 10 moves, we're still in the opening book. This is just well-explored territory, I guess. I'm certainly out of my book knowledge. I'm just playing what seem logical moves to me, and I guess they are moves that other players have tried as well. Anyway, this is one of those times where black just retreats the bishop rather than, if he takes the knight here, it sort of helps. I'll take back with a pawn, and that shores up my queen's pawn, so he doesn't really want to do that. So he retreats the bishop, keeps all the pieces on, and we get an interesting position here with a lot of with all the pieces on the board. So that leads to lots of complications. And finally, after bishop to b3 here, we're out of the book. Queen d3 maybe is the better move here. It's suggested by the opening book, and also it's one of the chess engine ideas, queen d3, along with rook e1, queen e2. So just bringing some pieces, keeping on developing the pieces. So I played this move bishop to b3, and maybe it's a bit of a waiting move. There was no immediate need to get the bishop off of the c file. A lot of times the rook comes to c file and chases the bishop away, but he hasn't done that yet, and so I was moving it before I needed to. And I had this plan in mind of rerouting the bishop to c2 and the queen to d3, which I do get to execute. But just maybe a better way of going about that is immediate queen d3, a little more flexible and gives a little more center influence. Okay, so we're in an even position. Bishop b7, bishop c2, trying to set up this classic attack against the king side. He goes g6 in advance of the attack, so he played that a move sooner than he had to. But and this is the kind of move you're hoping to provoke. So now there's some dark squared weaknesses I can try and go after here. Let's see. I play bishop h6, parking my bishop on this square. He goes rook to e8, and then queen d2, holding on to the bishop. And I'm still trying to figure out how this is the best way to penetrate. Maybe I can get my queen over here, or my knight. Maybe the queen goes here, the knight comes here, and then I move the bishop away with tempo and mate. But I have to get rid of this knight first. Anyway, my plans are kind of vague at this stage. Let's see, he played a6, so that keeps my knight from hopping into the b5 square. And I continue with rook a to c1. So when you don't have an immediate plan, just a good developing move, putting your pieces on the open squares. And you can see how, there's good squares for all my pieces. That's the advantage. And black is all back on these 3 rows. But black's position is very solid. So it's not like there's going to be an easy breakthrough or anything. Now let's see, he goes queen to c7 here. Putting the queen opposite the rook may be a little bit questionable, but no immediate damage comes. But let's see, could I have played? No. Okay. For a second there, the chess engine was showing d5, but then it changed its mind. I didn't see that as a great idea. So I play h3. This keeps his knight from coming here, which would chase my bishop away. So it helps maintain my position over here on the king side. He goes rook a to d8. He is also centralizing his rooks. And I go queen to e3, getting it out of the glare of the rook. He goes knight to a5 now. Cancel that. Knight to a5. Okay, starts operating on the queen side. He can hop into this c4 square and chase my queen around, so maybe gain a tempo that way. Looks like bishop to a4 is an interesting idea here, the chess engine points out. Making that rook a little bit uncomfortable, maybe gaining a tempo there. Or the engine is recommending knight back to c6. Yeah, okay, that's true. The rook has nowhere to go. This dark squared bishop is covering that square, and the light squared bishop is this one, so he is forcing, that does force his knight back to a pin, so that would gain some time for me. I missed that idea. I played queen to e2 here, just in advance of this knight knight to c5 move. I'm getting a queen away from where it would lose a tempo. And I'm thinking at some point maybe I'll get some action along the e-file here, pushing. One of the ideas when you have the isolated queen's pawn is to push it ahead to d5 and try and open up some lines. Right now, though, that rook is pretty securely positioned on the e-file, so I'm not sure this is going to make great progress. Anyway, he plays queen d6. We're in that phase of the game where we're just kind of maneuvering. I go rook f to d1, bring my other rook over here defending the d-pawn. He goes knight to d5, blockading. And knight to e4 here. Okay, so the engine likes this. So with knight to e4, finally, I'm starting to get a little bit of an edge. I thought at some point I was getting something out of the opening. So this is a good move. I don't want to trade that knight off, but I want to bring it over here and look at some of these dark squares and maybe eventually take advantage of those dark squared weaknesses that were created earlier. He dropped his queen back to b8. Yeah, I'm also doing this move with tempo because it hits the queen. And then I continue on with knight to e5, bringing my other knight into the game. So he hits my knight with f5, and I come over here with knight to g5. So at this point, I'm starting to feel pretty good about my game. It looks like I've got kind of a dominating position. But in a couple of moves, things go wrong. So he plays bishop f6, so he's threatening to trade these off. And right here is my moment to strike. So knight g to f7 can be played right here. I mean, I was thinking about this move. I was planning to take the pawn when there was still a pawn there, but it wasn't clear to me that knight to f7 was such a great move. Yeah, let's take a look at the computer sequence. So what is it suggesting? After knight to f7, I mean, I just didn't see where the knight was going from there. It is hitting his rook, and I thought he could just move his rook away. But the engine is saying bishop takes e5, knight takes e5, winning that, winning the bishop pair. I have two bishops, and he only has one after that. And with a really excellent knight here on a dark square that his bishop can't challenge. So that would certainly, if I knew that was going to be the outcome, I would have played that. I was thinking he could, after knight to f7, just move his rook away. So is there something really awful about that? Then knight to d7. Hitting the queen. Well, seems like, yeah, my pieces are getting pretty active here. Queen to c7. And then I grab the bishop again. So I can at least get the bishop pair. Knight takes f6 check. Okay, so pretty interesting. So this knight to f7 idea was the one move I could have really played to get an advantage here in the middle game. Anyway, I played h4, just cementing my knight here. But that throws away that opportunity, I guess. He goes knight to f4, hitting my queen. And then right here I make a horrible blunder. There's really only one good square for the queen, and I really needed to slow down and pause and think, where can the queen go? You can see by the engine evaluation it doesn't have many good squares. So queen to e3 is the only good square. I went queen d2, putting it on a dark square and looking at the knights. The problem with queen d2 is it also just introduces this pin. I'm pinning this pawn and leave this knight hanging. So the knight, he can just take that off. So this is where black should really put the game away and just grab that knight. But instead, maybe he had planned this in advance. He noticed that his knight and his bishop are combined on this g2 square. Here, let's back up for a second. Let's see. If I go with this queen e3 line, and he takes on g2, he's hitting the queen again. Queen goes over to g3. And can't he just retreat the knight? How about if he just brings the knight back? Oh, okay, that knight's not defended there. So this knight has no square to go to. It can sit there. It's defended by the bishop. Okay, but I am threatening, I guess, to trap that knight with just a move like pawn to f3 there, interrupting the defense of the knight and then taking it. So that's interesting. So his way out is to take on e5, hitting my queen, forcing me to take back. And then he can exchange rooks. He still has this problem with the knight. Queen to c7. Oh, let's see. What happens if I play f3 here and try and trap the knight? Now he's got knight e3. Okay, yeah, I let go of the e3 square. Okay, so it's a slow process trying to take care of that knight. Anyway, that would have been how the game might have continued after queen to e3 if I'd played correctly. So queen d2, I blunder, and then he grabs a pawn, which leaves him a little better, but he could have grabbed a whole knight. And the game continues. So the lesson here is to put your opponent away when you have the chance. Okay, I had spotted the pin by now, and I moved my queen away, queen to b4. His knight could hop into f4, it looks like, with good effect. Let's see, did I have a better square? Queen to c3 would have been a better square. Okay. Well, yeah, you just got to spend the time and look through all those moves and find the best one, I guess. Okay, he played bishop takes e5 here. I took back. And queen takes e5. So he's won a pawn or two. But this queen takes e5 move was a big mistake. So I should have probably paused the video there. But if you didn't see it, what's the problem with queen takes e5? Maybe you can figure it out. It's a good tactics opportunity here. Okay, I have to say this section of the game, it's one of those moments in chess where it proves that the game is just too complicated for human beings. But there is a mate in 5 right here in this position. So it starts with rook takes d8. You've got to eliminate one of the defenders here. And it draws the rook away. And then with the rook out of the way, the queen can penetrate to e7. So that's the key idea. Exchanging rooks and penetrating with the queen. And now, if you saw ahead that far, you can see this is very dangerous with the queen on the 7th rank, the knight, and the bishop controlling all 3 squares in front of the king. And it just turns out there's no way to stop the mate at this point. He can throw in rook to d1 check. This is just giving pieces away. Queen to e1 check. That's just the computer's way of fending things off for as long as possible. F4. And then the queen comes in and delivers checkmate on any number of squares. So that's the way I should have finished the game. So kind of funny. He missed this. He missed the idea of winning the knight when he had the chance, and I missed the idea of winning the game. But well, I had to trade rooks before bringing the queen in. That was the key idea there. I took on b6. So I had some kind of loose pieces over here. I thought I was going to be trapping them. And you can see, actually, we have gone to a winning position for white. So I am actually winning the game here, although it felt a little bit shaky. So anyway, he traded rooks, which is his best choice at this point. And then he took on h4. Knight takes h4. So knight f4 would have been the better choice to escape that way. He took on h4. And what's my winning move here? My winning move is bishop to a4. Okay, once again, not a move I even thought of during the game. And yet another move that shows how complicated the game is. But I guess it's the same kind of idea. I need to try and find a way to get to the 7th rank. After bishop a4, what if he just... let's explore this one a little bit. Bishop a4. What if he just moves his rook to the side? Can't go here. And I don't want to allow the queen to the 2nd rank. So the rook could come over here maybe. And then rook to d8 check. So we're coming in here with the mating idea once again, controlling all of these squares in front of the king. So that bishop to a4, dislodging this rook, allows a winning attack once again. Okay, so I wasn't even thinking about the mating attacks here, but I noticed he had these problems with his loose pieces, so I played b4 here, kicking the knight and leaving the bishop hanging. And now he can draw with knight f3 check, which he plays. I take, that's forced. And then he takes back. Saving. Okay, come on. Saving material here. And then queen takes a5. Okay, I grab the knight, and he can grab the rook here. But grabbing the rook, it looks like, is a mistake. What's the best way to stay in the game? Oh, he has to trade queens here. Right. That's what it was. When I took his knight here, I'm also threatening his queen. So at this point, he can get a draw by trading queens. So queen takes, I take, and he takes, and I take. And I have 2 bishops against a rook, 3 pawns against 5 pawns. Looks like I can hold a draw here by the chess engine evaluation. Who knows how it would have turned out in practice. So anyway, but he took my rook, got too caught up in the sequences of captures, and left his queen hanging. And after he captured my bishop, he decided to resign because there's now a mate in 1. So maybe for a second he was hoping to play on with rook and bishop and some extra pawns against queen and bishop. But of course he's just getting mated. So that's how the game ended. Pretty interesting. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.